Hello guys and welcome to a new video on my channel. My name is Andre and today we're gonna talk about data. Data, it's all around us and it gives us incredible insights into our world. And also it helps us make better decisions. Take a look, for example, to our stocks app or health app or our fitness app. Every one of them has charts. Until now, charts were not easy to build in swiftui, but all of this changes after this year WWDC. Apple introduced a new framework called Swift Charts, and that will help us to build charts with ease. In today's video, we're gonna build a chart to display views from different videos from my channel. The first step to start is to create a new project. If you didn't, go to File, New Project, select the multi-template, and you should end up with something similar to what I have. Okay, let's start by removing the VStack. And the first step to use the new framework is to import it. I will import it here under swiftui. And now we're gonna have access to a few views. If I save, you're gonna see we have an empty white screen on the preview. And that's because when we build charts with Swift Charts, we need to compose some other views to obtain the end result. Swift Charts framework comes with all sort of components of views. They are called marks that will help us to display data. Let's see some examples. So for example, we have a bar mark, a line mark, a point mark, an area mark, a rule mark, and so on. To build our monthly views chart, we're gonna start by using the bar mark, and for that we need to define an X and Y value. Depending on how we pass the values, Swift Charts will create horizontal or vertical bar charts. So enough talk, let's use it. And we'll say bar mark, and we're gonna use this constructor, and as you can see we need to pass plottable values to X and Y, and we're gonna do that by writing dot value. The first property is the label and the second is the value. The label of the X axis will be month and we'll pass March, and for the Y value we'll do the same, dot value. The label will be views, and here we need to pass a number, let's say 300 views. And as you can see, we have our first bar. Let's add a few more. Let's also change the values. And let's also change the height of the chart. Let's wrap everything into a VStack. Okay, and let's give it a label. Like this. And let's give it a font of title. Let me also give a padding. And yeah, this is it. This is how you create your first chart. But of course this is a naive example. We can do a lot more. Firstly, we can change the color. Like this. And let's say we're gonna use this green. And this will change the color of the bar chart. This is just a simple example, but you can see how easy it is to create charts with the new framework. Usually data comes from a DB by hitting a web service or from other sources. And we'll have more than 4 values because the purpose of this video is to learn how to use Swift Charts will generate some data. The first step to generate data is to create some utility functions that will help us to do that. First, let's create a utility function that will help us create dates easily. We'll name this function createDate, and it will receive a year, a month, and a day, and it will return a date. Let's do that. We'll create these functions outside of our struct. Okay, let's create our first function. And this function will receive 3 arguments: the year, that will be an int, and also the default will be this year, the month, that will be also an int, and the day, that will be also an int, and by default I will say 1, the first of the month, and this function will return a date. To create a date from these inputs, we're gonna use the calendar, and we'll use the date from, and to this init we need to pass the year, the month, and the day. And because everything is optional, we're gonna return by default today's date if an input is not correct and the date cannot be generated. Okay, let's move on. Let's create the actual function that will generate our views. This function will be called generate views, and it will receive the number of days for which we're gonna generate views. And the days will be an int, and this function will return a tuple. A tuple is a data structure that returns a construct of 2 things. So we're gonna do it like this. It's an array of a tuple, and the first value is the day, that's of type date, and the value of type int. And to create the data, first we need to create an empty array named views that contains tuples as above. And by default it's empty. We'll return this at the end. And to generate the data, we need to create a for, something like this, and we'll use the append method of the views array, and we're gonna use our createDate utility function, and the month will be 6, and the day, let's say I plus 1, and the second will be the value. And for this we're gonna use a random, an int random we're gonna use a range. We're gonna use for this a range between 50 and 300. I have an issue. Yeah, fix. I forgot parentheses. Okay, now we have our functions created. Let's use them. We'll create a state variable for that. And we'll generate data for 10 days. To iterate over the data, we can use a for each, or we can pass them here to the chart. I will use a for each. And the ID will be the day. We'll change this label to day. And as you know, closures offer us this shortcut. we'll say this day unit day. And for the views, we're gonna read the generated views 0 dot value. And now we have our chart with generated views. And I said before that it depends what value you pass to the x value and what value you pass to the y value. Let's try to switch them. So I will just copy this line like this, and I will change the value from y with the value from x. And let's see if it works. And as you can see, now we have a horizontal bar chart by just changing the values of x and y. Okay, let's remove that. It's pretty simple to change the type of charts by changing the mark. If we put here line, we're gonna have a line chart. And we can also combine two types of charts to obtain a different visualization. Let's add here a point mark. And as you can see, now we have also the points here on the line chart. Okay, now let's create a multi-series chart. It is similar to what we have, but here instead of only having the views, we will have these views as data property on a tuple and the name. So we're gonna have two tuples with name and data. Something like this. Let's say the first name will be the video how to create a flip card. Okay, and for the second, we'll have the video about navigation API in Swift 4. Let's indent a little bit the code. Like this. And in order to display the data, first we need to go over this tuple. We're gonna use a for each again. Data, and the ID is the name. Let me just close it over here. And let's say this is the item. Item dot data. Let's remove the point mark. Let's use a bar mark. Okay. Until now, nothing is changed. Let's use a foreground style. And here we're gonna pass the plotting value for the name. And as you can see, now we have a multi-series chart. The bar chart is displayed in a stack mode. If we want to put them side by side, we can say here position and pass the same value over here. And now we have them side by side. We can also use a line mark, and we can display them like this. Okay, I just cleaned up the code a little bit. Also, we can combine marks when we have multi-series. So here we're gonna use a point mark. Let me just copy this. And I believe we need to move this in the for each. And yes, as you can see, now we have the points and the lines combined. This will conclude today's video. We will deep dive more into Swift charts framework features in other videos. If you like the video, don't forget to hit the like button. This will help me reach more people and share the knowledge. If you want to receive more news from my site, don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed. Until the next time, I wish you all the best.